Hey, hi everyone. Most of us, in our day to day, we wake up with an alarm on our iPhone and Android phones. After which we check our WhatsApp and Instagram. Then we put on our Adidas shoes and go for a walk. That's a routine for the morning. And post as we start walking, we open our phone and start googling something about our latest news. And as we progress for the day, as we go to our office, we open our Dell or HP laptops and we start our day working. So you would have understood what I'm connecting the dots, where where I'm mentioning all the international names, all the international businesses where we are the consumers, for them. Yet we don't become owners of such businesses, just because these companies are not listed in India. So to solve this problem, we have international mutual funds, and that's the topic for the day. So we have to cover the topic. We have Anuj Desai. Hey, hi Anuj.
Hi, Harsh.
So just to give you a brief introduction about Anuj. Anuj, is a research analyst with Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company, where his key responsibilities are to create investment strategies around new products, promoting passive investing, along with the international investments. And prior to joining Motilal Oswal, Anuj was with NSE, where he was responsible for creating fixed income indexes and developing and valuing them. So before we move to our topic for the day, which is on why, how, and how much of international investing, I'll give you a quick introduction on our Moneyfy app. So Tata Capital Moneyfy brings to its customers a complete suite of investment products 100% digitally. One can start investing in mutual funds through SIPs or lump sum. They can also explore small cases which are there on Moneyfy, along with fixed income products like FDs. Customers can also create their own retirement account through NPS, which is National Pension Scheme. They can all along with all these gamut of products, they can also apply for loans and insurance products. So it summarizes a one-stop shop for all your personal finance needs. So I would request everyone to download and install Moneyfy. The link we have given in the description. I would also request all our viewers to subscribe to our YouTube channel for such more interactive sessions, where we help our investors to understand what are the various investment opportunities available in the Indian market. So Anuj will quickly start with a very quick question.
Sure.
On the markets, what is driving the global and Indian markets over last 3 months? We've seen a lot of volatility
Right.
recently.
Right. So that is one question that we have been getting everywhere and from everyone, right? So if I had to summarize it in one word, I would just say uncertainty, right? So when 2022 started, so we thought that COVID was behind us, and so we started off, but that's when things started to go downhill, if I have to say so. So the Russia-Ukraine crisis, right? It started off, and that's set off a chain of events. Now, currently, if you look at the markets, right? So you have a very high inflation across the world, right? Also, central banks across the world are have started to hike the rates. Now, both coupled that with your supply chain issues, right? So the supply chain issues have been there since the start of COVID, and they haven't been resolved. And over that, there is additional layer of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. So put together all of this, now that is a perfect combination for the market volatility. So if I have to give you some numbers, right, on a year-to-date basis, that is since the start of the year, the S&P 500, which is the broad market index of US, right? It is down roughly by 19.5%. Now, if you look at NASDAQ, which is a technology heavy index, that is down by roughly 28%. And similarly, if you look at the emerging markets or developed markets, so they are down by roughly 19%. The only bright spot I would say has been the Indian market, which has been down by roughly 10%. So yeah, that is about the markets.
Yeah, so this brings me to the question two for today is some of the international indices, as you mentioned, have got corrected by a large margin.
Right.
So does this give an opportunity to an investor who is wanting to initiate some investment into global funds, looking to diversify, or should an investor wait when the US economy is hitting on the inflation, which is out of control right now over there. So should one wait for the things to get normalized and then look forward to investing?
Okay, so this is a very good question, right? Because this is what normally investors do ask us. Now, what you are basically referring to is timing the market. So, kab bottom aayega, kab peak aayega. So this is very difficult to judge. So it sounds fancy and it sounds easy, but to actually pick the bottom, it is very difficult. So what we strongly feel is that if one has a disciplined approach to investing, so there is no right or wrong time to invest. So for retail investors, especially, what I would suggest is stick to your simple SIPs, because they are fill it, shut it, and forget it sort of a strategy. Do that. But coming to your question, if you ask, yes, this is someone who was earlier concerned about the valuations, right? So this serves as a very good entry point for those investors.
All right. So, many of our investors are, always asking, what is the kind of taxation which gets applied to investing into international mutual funds? Is it normal equity like, or how is it?
Okay. So international funds, right? International mutual funds attract a non-equity taxation, which is equivalent to debt taxation. So for a holding period, if you invest for a period of less than 3 years, so in that case, hello, am I audible? Harsh? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was some disconnection. All right. So, we hear you on your, view, comments on taxation, which gets
Yeah.
applied
Yeah.
to international mutual
So
fund.
so if you look at the international mutual funds, they attract a non-equity taxation that is equivalent to a debt taxation. So basically, if an investor is holding the mutual fund for less than 3 years, in that case, it will attract a short-term capital gain and it will be taxed as per the tax slab. While if the holding period is for more than 3 years, in that case, it would be long-term capital gain and it would be taxed as per 20% with an indexation benefit.
Okay. So, there are multiple options available for investments into international equity markets.
Right.
So, should one hold individual stocks or go for mutual funds, which are largely, either passively managing funds or actively managed mutual funds? So which will help create a portfolio. So should one go for direct investments into individual stocks? Like there are some platforms which are there offering direct investments into some of the international stocks.
Right, right. So think of this from this point of view. Say you have 100 rupees, right? Now you are betting this money onto one or two stocks, right? When you are investing into just two of these stocks. Now you are betting all your money that these stock need to do well, right? Now for how much period these would be doing well, you do not know, right? Say if they do well for maybe 1 year, you are happy. But what if they start doing poorly? So you are betting all your money only on those two stocks or maybe 10 stocks. Instead, what I would say is go for a portfolio approach or a basket approach, what I will call it as, right? You pick a portfolio of stocks, right? And even if few of the stocks do not do well, you have the rest of the stocks that would be doing well for you. Now, case in point, if you look at the US market, right, you would be aware that technology stocks, which were doing really well earlier, have started to take a beating. Now, if you were invested only in few of the stocks, right, the FANG, basically the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, so you were betting all your money only on the FANG stocks. And had you invested only in that, so you would have taken a lot of beating in that. And most of the investors, right, do not or are not able to digest that kind of volatility. So instead, if they stick around for a broader index, right, or a broader portfolio, they would be able to digest this volatility because it would be much lower, and then they could remain invested. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, I think, for all our, viewers, I think international stocks, while it is fancy to invest, but I think
Yes.
it is more important for you to choose a professional to manage your money, at least in the international market, because you cannot always have all the research about the international stocks while you are sitting out of India. So this brings me to the next question is what is the impact of the USD and INR rates when I'm when I'm investing into international funds? So does that, is it something which I should be concerned about, or it's whether it's good or bad when it comes to international investing?
Okay, so exchange rate, right? It is an hidden asset when you are investing into international markets. So any investor, maybe you or me, when we invest into US, so there are two returns that we get. Basically, one that is arising out of the portfolio, and the other is the foreign exchange rate. For India, which has seen the currency to depreciate across period. So for us, a depreciating rupee is always beneficial. So when we started this conversation, right, I mentioned to you that S&P has lost roughly 19%, right? That was in USD terms. But if you look at into INR terms, S&P 500, it has lost 14%. Now, why the difference? Now, S&P 500 in USD terms did 19% negative, right? This 6% differential or 6% differential is roughly arising out of the currency returns. So S&P 500 did negative 19%, but your currency did positive 6%. So net net, the investor got negative 14%. So Indian investors need to keep this in mind that they would mostly benefit out of the foreign exchange currency as an asset. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So we obviously have more retail investors wanting to invest into international equity markets because it's more fancy.
Yeah.
Does Indian investor have any option to go for a fixed income exposure to international companies or sovereign bonds of some other countries?
Okay, so currently there are no funds, and the possible reason could be if you look at the yields that most of these sovereign bonds are paying. So India is one of the highest yield giving country, right? Secondly, if you look at, there are some emerging market countries which give you higher yield, but as I just we touched upon the forex thing, right? So investing into emerging markets comes with its own challenges because the currency over there is very volatile. Now you have a debt-like instrument which has relatively lower returns compared to equity, right? And now you add to that a volatile currency. So net net, your returns would be much lower. So that is why currently there are no products on the debt in international debt.
All right. So there was a recent development where most of the AMCs in India had paused accepting fresh investments into some of these overseas
Right.
funds which are there in India. As per the RBI directive. So what is the situation now? Can you restart your investments? If you can give some perspective to our investors, if they can start again.
Got it. If you look at this limit, right? So this limit has been put in by RBI, right? Uh, so how much money can be remitted outside by the mutual funds? So they have set in a $7 billion limit. So most of these funds, the industry had breached this limit or were nearing the breach. That is why it was decided to stop investments. So most of the mutual funds are currently not accepting money into their international funds, except only those funds that invest into overseas ETF. So, and these also form a very small part of the funds, and also these may shut anytime. So what I feel is, there is yet to we are yet to get any clarity on when these limits would be enhanced. So once these limits are enhanced, all the mutual funds investing into international markets would start accepting money. But when this happens, we are not aware of it. So most of the industry participants are working with the regulator to enhance this limit.
Yes. So, one more question. So, people would be interested to understand, so recent, I think not very recently, but, few years back, EPFO started investing into
Right.
the Indian passive market, and
Right.
pension funds also do it. So while, there are some large funds, managing, public money in India are investing into Indian markets. So do these top funds go out and invest into some international funds? So we see a lot of other sovereign funds outside India come to India and invest as per the limit which is set. But do our EPFOs and pension funds go and invest into international markets?
So EPFO currently doesn't invest into international markets. They invest into only domestic markets and via ETFs and to large cap. So, but one good thing now, if you see, now this is not relating to international, but it is relating to passive funds. So EPFO currently invest roughly 15% of the corpus into equity ETFs. Now they have proposed that they would be increasing this limit to maybe 20% and thereafter 25%. So you'll see that passive funds would stand to gain out of it. Yeah.
Okay. So, I think, we've covered a lot of questions. So, we would be now more interested to, understand, why, how, and how much of international, investing should one consider. So, if you could cover in a more detailed way how to approach these investments, we'll be happy to have your views over there.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll just share a presentation. It is a very small presentation, and I'll try to explain all the concepts in a simplest manner. Right. So, hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So just think. So everyone, just think about it. Say you are out there on the road, and it's a very hot afternoon, and you want to eat an ice cream, right? You go to a ice cream truck or ice cream parlor, and then you are standing in front of the refrigerator over there, and you see a tons of options to choose from. You have various flavors of ice cream in front of you. Now what do? So if I had to be there, I would pick my normal flavors, which I usually have: butterscotch, maybe vanilla. And that is what tends to happen with most of the people. So when people are faced with choices, what they tend to do is they pick something that is they are much more familiar with. Similarly, in investing as well, right? So most of the investors do not invest into international markets because they do not know how can they invest, which are the stocks that are out there in the international markets. So if you look at Indian markets, right, roughly 99% of the money is invested into domestic markets only. Only 1% gets invested into international markets. So that shows a very strong home bias. So now I'll touch upon why you should be investing into international markets, right? Sorry. Yep. Now you would have heard Mr. Modi referring that we'll be a $5 trillion economy, right? So currently our economy is at $3 trillion. Now, just take a guess, wild guess, how much or what would be our rank in terms of the world GDP, and what would be our contribution to the world GDP. You'll be amazed to know that it is only 3%, right? So a $3 trillion economy is worth only 3% of the world GDP. Also, you look at your equity markets. The equity markets again are roughly worth $3 trillion, right? And they are also worth 3% of the world market. So what I'm trying to say over here is that 97% of the world's opportunities are outside India. Yet most of the people invest only in India. Now, if you look at the global markets, right, or you look at US investors, or you look at investors from Europe or any other developed markets, so what or how do they invest? So the global equity market is divided into three parts. So first is the US market. It is treated as a completely different market because of its size. So in terms of market size, US accounts for 60% of the global market. So जितना global equity market है, say for example global equity market 100 rupees worth है, right? तो 60 रुपया सिर्फ US का size है, right? Then comes in your developed markets. So developed markets roughly 28% होते हैं, and then emerging markets as in जैसे India and ये सब countries हुए जो अभी भी develop नहीं हुआ and they are moving towards being developed. ये सब countries they account for next 13%. So this is how a investor sitting in US views the world, right? And अगर आप US investors को देखोगे तो उन लोग beyond US equities भी invest करते हैं. Now, why should you invest outside India? अभी आपको मैं एक पहले क्लासिक एग्जांपल देता हूं. अब 2000 से 2010 तक देखोगे तो इंडियन मार्केट्स ने बहुत अच्छा किया था, बट 2010 से 2020 दैट इज 2010 to 2020 the US market outperformed India. Now look at this table. Now what I'm trying to show over here is that every market performs differently at different times, right? Now take a case of 2011. Now this is basically returns of each market in each of the years, right? These are the years and these are the returns given by each of the markets. Now if you look at the year 2011, Indian markets gave roughly 27% negative returns, 27% negative returns, right? But look at US market, it gave 21% positive returns. Similarly, the developed markets gave positive 6% returns. Now, being at the bottom doesn't always mean that you are doing bad or you're giving negative returns. It could also mean that you are performing relatively bad, right? Now, look at the year over year, 2013. 2013 में इंडिया ने 4.8% रिटर्न दिया था, राइट? एंड पॉजिटिव रिटर्न है, आप तो खुश रहोगे करके अच्छा हमको 4.8 मिला, बट यूएस को देख लीजिए वो टाइम पे 50% रिटर्न्स दिया था. सो आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि आपको सिर्फ यूएस में इन्वेस्ट करना है या सिर्फ इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करना है. यू शुड हैव फंड्स अक्रॉस दिस ईच ऑफ द रीजन्स. नाउ जैसे हर्ष ने स्टार्ट किया था, राइट? सो हर्ष as in perfectly started this thing. So when we wake up, which brands do we use? Now look at US, right? I'll cover it one by one, right? US, if you look at the stocks over there, right? We use these companies as in or the services provided by these companies on a daily basis. You must be aware of Facebook or Google, maybe you use your Nike shoes, you go to Starbucks. So all of these brands come under the US market, right? Now look at developed market. Developed market में कौन सा आता है? आपका जर्मनी हो गया, जापान हो गया, ये सब जो कंट्रीज है, ये यूरोप आप बोल सकते हो. तो इसमें कौन से ब्रांड्स आते हैं? नेस्ले, एस्ट्राजेनेका जो आपका वैक्सीन था, राइट? वन ऑफ द वैक्सीन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स. सोनी, आपके घर पे जो सोनी का टीवी रहता है, राइट? अभी इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स आप देखोगे तो इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में कौन आता है? इंडिया, चाइना, ब्राजील, रशिया, ये सब कंट्रीज आते हैं इमर्जिंग मार्केट में. तो पहले अगर आप इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स को भी देखोगे तो पहले इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स को ऐसा लगता था, लोगों को लगता था कि दे आर जस्ट फैक्ट्रीज जो यूएस का कॉपी करके यहाँ पे चीजें बनाते हैं, बट नाउ दैट हैज चेंज्ड कंप्लीटली। जैसे आप डे टू डे गूगल पे यूज करते रहोगे, राइट ना, गूगल पे जैसी सर्विस यूएस में नहीं होती है। तो ये सब जो सर्विसेज है, दीज आर बोर्न आउट ऑफ नेसेसिटी, एंड एमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में ये सब टेक्नोलॉजी अभी बहुत ज्यादा वाइड स्प्रेड यूसेज है। तो जैसे चाइना में देखोगे तो देर इज 1 or 2 सुपर एप्स। वो एक ऐप में आप रेस्टोरेंट का भी बुकिंग कर सकते हो, एज इन रेस्टोरेंट में टेबल बुक कर सकते हो, ऑर्डर कर सकते हो, एवरीथिंग जो जोमेटो, स्विगी, बुक माई शो जो चीज अलग अलग एप्स करता है, चाइना में देर आर एप्स जो एक ऐप के अंदर हर चीज कवर कर देगा, राइट। सो जैसे एमआई, अभी मूविंग ऑन, अगर आप दूसरे मार्केट्स में इन्वेस्ट करते हो, व्हाट डू यू गेट आउट ऑफ इट? यू गेट एन एक्सपोजर टू डिफरेंट बिजनेस मॉडल्स, राइट नाउ, या तो डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स। सो जैसे आपको एग्जांपल दूं, तो अगर आप इंडियन मार्केट को ट्रैक करते हो तो यू विल नोटिस दैट आर वी आर मोर हैवी वेट टूवर्ड्स फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर, फाइनेंशियल एज इन योर बैंक हो गया या हाउसिंग फाइनेंस कंपनीज हो गए, इनके तरफ अपने स्टॉक्स का वेटेज बहुत ज्यादा है। तो इसको हम बोल सकते हैं कि फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर हैवी है अपना इंडियन मार्केट। वही अगर आप यूएस को देखोगे तो दे हैव एक्सपोजर टू डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स, जैसे हेल्थ केयर हो गया, ये सब, राइट। अब कोई आर्ग्यू भी करे, नहीं अच्छा हमारे पास भी आईटी है, उनके पास भी आईटी है, बट दोनों के आईटी का जो ये है एक्सपोजर, दैट इज वेरी डिफरेंट। नाउ यहाँ पे मैंने एक एग्जांपल लिया, राइट, यहाँ पे मैंने आईटी एंड कम्युनिकेशन सर्विसेज लिए है, राइट, ऑफ इंडिया एंड यूएस। अब इंडिया में these are very well known companies, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra। अब ये कंपनीज करती क्या है? These companies are basically software developers, right? They create softwares and they export softwares, so they are service oriented. Now, but if you look at US market companies, right, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, these are one of the consumer facing giants, right, tech giants. So basically एवरी डे आप व्हाट्सएप यूज करते हो, राइट, आप इंस्टाग्राम यूज करते हो, आप एप्पल फोन यूज कर रहे हो, एंड यू विल आल्सो नोटिस कि उसमें जो टेक्नोलॉजी या जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट यूज की गई है वो कितनी सुपीरियर है, राइट। सो दिस इज द बेसिक डिफरेंस, यू गेट एक्सेस टू डिफरेंट बिजनेस मॉडल्स, डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स व्हेन यू इन्वेस्ट इनटू different markets. Now this is one common question, even Harsh asked us how one can invest, right? So investing into international market can be done in two ways. One is direct stocks and one is mutual funds. So direct stocks में अगर आपको invest करना है तो आप कोई broker के थ्रू, जिनका international markets में भी setup हो, वो broker के थ्रू आप कर सकते हो, but it is very difficult, or you would say it is very full of hassles. So retail investors, आपके मेरे जैसे investors के लिए ये as in viable option नहीं है. Then there are few mobile apps जो आपको single stocks purchase करने देते हैं, या तो Moneyfy जैसे भी apps है जो mutual funds में invest करने देते हैं, right? And these apps also let you buy these mutual funds. अब म्यूचुअल फंड में भी कैसे होता है कि एक एक्टिव फंड होता है। एक्टिव फंड क्या करता है, बेसिकली उन लोग फॉरेन मार्केट्स का स्टडी करेंगे एंड उसमें से कुछ स्टॉक्स उठाएंगे, राइट। अब इंडेक्स फंड और ईटीएफ क्या होते हैं, बेसिकली दे ट्राई टू रेप्लिकेट वो ब्रॉड बेस्ड एक कोई जो भी मार्केट के सबसे लार्जेस्ट कंपनीज होंगे उनको सीधा पोर्टफोलियो में बाय कर लेते हैं, राइट। दे रेप्लिकेट अ इंडेक्स। एंड देन देयर आर फंड ऑफ फंड्स। फंड ऑफ फंड क्या करते हैं, बेसिकली यहाँ पे एक फंड होगा विच इन्वेस्ट इनटू यूएस के कोई म्यूचुअल फंड में या ईटीएफ में या इंडेक्स फंड में। सो दैट इज थर्ड सेगमेंट हाउ यू इन्वेस्ट इट। सो सबसे इजीएस्ट form of investment is mutual funds that can be done via app or any online platform. Now this is one very common question that we get is how much should we invest, because people do not know अभी आपके पास 100 रुपए है, राइट, 100 रुपए में से मैंने कितने पैसे यहाँ पे लगाने चाहिए। तो सवाल आता है अगर आप फर्स्ट टाइम इन्वेस्टर हो, राइट, या तो यू आर न्यू टू द मार्केट्स, इन दैट केस आई वुड सजेस्ट start with 10% allocation, right? You just invest 10%. आपके पास 100 रुपीस है जो इक्विटी मार्केट्स में आप डालोगे, तो सिर्फ 10% allocation आपका इंटरनेशनल मार्केट्स में जाना चाहिए। एंड कोई अगर इंटरमीडिएट लेवल का इन्वेस्टर है, सो हु हैज बीन इन्वेस्टिंग सिंस लॉन्ग टाइम and wants to take exposure to international markets, so in that case they should invest roughly 20% of it. So 100 रुपए अगर आपके पास है जो इक्विटीज में इन्वेस्ट करोगे, तो उसमें से 20 रुपए आप इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में डाल सकते हो. सो देयर आर हाई नेटवर्थ इंडिविजुअल्स or institution or big clients basically who are very well versed, they can go up to 30 or 40%, but 40% के ऊपर इंटरनेशनल में इन्वेस्ट करना अकॉर्डिंग टू हमारे रिसर्च डजंट मेक सेंस, बिकॉज उसमें आपकी वॉलेटिलिटी, जो आपका रिस्क है, बढ़ जाता है. सो अप टू 40% आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो. फर्स्ट टाइम इन्वेस्टर हो तो 10% एंड इंटरमीडिएट हो तो 20%. सो व्हाट इज द की टेक अवे, राइट? सो फर्स्टली आपको, जैसे मैंने आपको ऑलरेडी कवर किया कि यू गेट एक्सपोजर टू न्यू बिजनेस मॉडल्स, राइट? वो आपको बोला. नेक्स्ट, यू गेट एक्सपोजर टू न्यू सेक्टर्स. अगर आप देखोगे इंडिया में हेल्थ केयर को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं दिया जाता है, राइट? बट यूएस में अगर आप देखोगे तो हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर में बहुत वेटेज है, तो आपको नए नए सेक्टर्स को एक्सपोजर मिलेगा. और इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में अगर आप देखोगे तो वहां पे आपको यूटिलिटीज, बेसिकली मतलब ये आपके ऑयल एंड गैस, ये सब कंपनीज को भी आपको एक्सपोजर मिलता है. लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, आप जब भी पोर्टफोलियो डाइवर्सिफाइड रखते हो, राइट, आप हर मार्केट में इन्वेस्टेड हो, तो इट डजंट मैटर टू यू अगर कोई एक सिंगल मार्केट खराब कर रहा है, बिकॉज बाकी 2 या 3 मार्केट्स है जो आपके लिए कवर अप कर देंगे. So just to tell you about Motilal Oswal funds, right? Motilal Oswal mutual fund is a leader in international funds, right? हम international funds में leaders है because हमने 2010-2011 में first fund launch किया था, that is Nasdaq 100 ETF. तभी US market अच्छा भी नहीं कर रहा था, तभी हमने वो launch करा था. करंटली हमारे पास ये ऑफरिंग्स है. सो हम S&P 500 इंडेक्स फंड है हमारे पास, मोतीलाल ओसवाल नैस्डैक 100 ETF है, एंड फंड ऑफ फंड भी है, राइट? सो करंटली इसमें हम लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट्स एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे बिकॉज ऑफ रेगुलेटरी लिमिट्स, बट वंस as in the limits are enhanced, we'll start accepting money. Also on developed markets we have this fund. Yeah. So that is it from my end. Hope it was insightful, and if you have any questions, so you can route it. Yeah, Harsh.
Yeah, Anuj. So yeah, we covered it well. So I would just request if you can unshare the screen.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we all our audience would have got why, how, and how much of international investing. Just two quick questions before we wrap up for this topic. So we've seen a lot of companies you've listed down, and we know that overall we have more than
Right.
150 markets all across the world to invest in. And so if you would want to summarize, what are the opportunities available or the categories of international funds in India, which one can broadly classify. So what would it be?
So currently, if you see, there would be 2 type of funds, right? One is your broad-based, as I highlighted, that would be US focused. Then you have developed market, and then you have emerging market, right? This is broad-based. This is one sort of, and then there are few funds which are country specific. Country specific could be, you have China or US, or maybe it could be Japan or something like that. So it is country specific or region specific. Yeah.
Okay, so last question. So if someone is wanting to invest into international funds or international equities, so what are the kind of risks one should be aware of? So there will be FX rate risk, there will be market risk, but what are the main risks that one should look forward to before looking out for investing into an international fund?
Right. So as you rightly highlighted that forex is one of the things that you need to know. Then you have your market related risk, right? Also, when you invest into another country or market, you are basically impacted. Your returns are impacted by their macro or basically their economy would impact it. But also with that, you have to realize that now let me give you an example of emerging markets. So emerging market में आपके पास China, Russia, India ये सब आता है, right? Before February there was no issue emerging markets में. अब आप देखोगे यूएस में भी बहुत सारे फंड्स है जो emerging market में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, बट जैसे ये वॉर हुआ, राइट, तो रशियन मार्केट वाज अनइन्वेस्टेबल. सो बहुत सारे फंड्स थे जिनके पैसे रशियन स्टॉक्स में थे एंड दे हैड टू अबैंडन इट, राइट. सो दिस इज वन रिस्क दैट पीपल नीड टू कीप इन माइंड, दैट जब आप दूसरे, एंड मोस्टली दिस वुड हैपन इन इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स, डेवलप मार्केट्स में इतना ये इश्यूज नहीं आते, बट इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में आपको ये सब रिस्क होती है, जहां पे मे बी कल वॉर हो जाए या कुछ हो जाए जिसकी वजह से स्टॉक मार्केट कुछ टाइम के लिए बंद हो या तो आपको ट्रेडिंग अवेलेबल नहीं हो.
So along with the market risk and FX risk, I
Yes.
think broadly the geopolitical risk
Yes.
it gets applied to a country is also something one should look
Yeah.
before investing.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's it, Anuj. It was very insightful. Your views were very important for our investors to first review what you are investing in.
Right.
I think they will make some use of the knowledge that has been shared over here before they look forward to investing into international funds. Anuj, I would really appreciate if you would spend 1 minute if should one invest and what are the 3 points if someone is looking to invest into international equities, why would you recommend it just now for an investment?
Okay. So as I said that different markets perform differently, right? So you need to diversify your portfolio. So that is one major point, right? Secondly, once you diversify, right, this basically broadens your horizon, and day-to-day basis you use these brands, why not invest it? So that is the only two things, because the main theme for international investing or any sort of investing is to diversify.
All right. So, yeah, this brings us to the end of the session. Thanks, Anuj. It
Thanks,
was
Harsh.
a pleasure to host you. And thanks everyone who have joined us virtually on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.